Hello, Maria.
Hi, Renzo.
So, usually you come ready with a nice, potent, surprising question to put me on the spot every time we do one of these episodes of Just the Spanish Phrase. That's the podcast our dear listeners are tuning into right now. But today, I'm going to flip the script.
Uh-oh,
I'm going to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
And just for the record, I have no idea what he's going to ask me because we don't rehearse these and we don't have a script, which we think makes it more interesting. So please bear with me if I stumble after that question.
Do you think talk is cheap?
What do you mean?
That words are only words and that you need actions.
I absolutely do.
Oh.
I believe in the show, don't tell. Don't tell me all you are going to do. Just do it. Don't tell me you love me. Prove it. Show me you love me with your actions. You can be telling me, oh, I love you so much. But then, I don't know, you don't reply to a message on time or you don't show up for an appointment on time. And then you're not showing me you love me. So I definitely do believe much more in actions than in words. But why are you asking that?
I'm not surprised, and I completely agree with you. But can you think of an example where words are shared, but then the actions fall short?
Well, the typical big corporations, they hire you, or your opinion is very important to us. No, it's not important. You're just saying that, you know? Or like the welfare of our employees is very important. That's why we give you, I don't know, 5 vacation days in a year or...
All right, so those are like the empty promises or the...
That's one example, yes.
Yeah, the superficial, like, rhetoric of some of these companies. Yeah. Okay.
But wait, we're supposed to be talking about a Spanish idiomatic expression here in Just a Spanish Phrase.
That's
Is this
right.
tied to any particular one?
Absolutely. That's right. I'm asking you this because the expression that we are discussing today in Just a Spanish Phrase is a beautiful expression. It is poetic.
Ooh.
Las palabras se las lleva el viento.
Oh, the words are gone with the wind.
Gone with the wind, I know. It reminds you of the movie, maybe. But it's really the image of the words getting carried away by the wind.
Yes, words mean nothing if they're not sustained by actions.
Exactly.
I don't know why, but I'm hoping our listeners like music because this makes me think of a Willy Colón song, which is one of my favorites.
I love Willy Colón. Okay,
if you're on Spotify or on Apple, whatever streaming service, or Willy Colón, Gitana. And it says at some point the words are made of air and to air they go. Las palabras son de aire y van al aire. The tears are water and they go to the sea. And tell me, my love, when the love dies, where it goes.
Oh,
and
that was beautiful.
I think that those lyrics come from a poem. I have to fact check that. But research that song, Gitana by Willy Colón, is top.
I have to listen to it after we record this. But back to today's expression, las palabras se las lleva el viento. As we translated, literally, it's words are carried away by the wind. So, of course, the meaning is what we were just discussing, that words are just words if they're not backed up, supported by actions. And so in English, we say sometimes, not as poetic, but it still works, talk is cheap.
I have no idea. That was
the
way. Yes.
Yeah, talk is cheap. And so immediately it makes me think of politicians.
Oh, are we going there?
Well, we have to go there because politicians build careers on cheap talk. So the idea that campaigning is an art. Have you heard this notion?
I haven't, but I witness it.
Exactly. And a really cynical perspective on that is that really we're talking about pageantry and theater and, not necessarily the truth, but rather putting on a good show. And it's words and promises and big promises that then you failed to deliver. That's like a common trope with politics all over the world, you know?
Of course, because you promise to different populations what they want to be. You tell them what they want to hear, and then sometimes it's contradictory. You go to one state and you say one thing, and then to the other state you say the opposite. Unfortunately, nowadays with social media and all, they get caught.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely fake promises, empty promises.
Empty promises, whatever will get you the vote. But I know that you're not a huge fan when we can avoid it, talking about politicians. So instead, I want to talk to you about a recent investigative report that the New York Times put out about companies. Since you were talking about companies and they are also famous for their empty promises, it was a fascinating, long research report about climate goals. Think about a few years ago, you know, all within the last decade, so many companies came out with huge, lofty promises and goals about net zero emissions, about turning towards renewable energies, just about making their practices way more sustainable in an effort to contribute, to do their part to save the world. And what this report was claiming, we, the public, the consumers, ate it up. We loved that. We loved the idea that our companies were going to finally turn the page and be eco-friendly.
And I know you and we sometimes are willing to pay a little bit more, for example, for our clothes, if we know those clothes are eco-friendly, they're not using sweatshops, they're not exploiting resources, human resources or natural resources. So what happened with that?
Well, that's the thing. Most of those that you were just talking about, they tend to be like smaller companies that maybe can really back up their claims. But a lot of large companies jumped on the bandwagon and said, yes, we too are going to be, at the forefront of sustainability. And what this report found is that over the last 5 years, nearly every large corporation has failed to meet those goals.
Oh.
And I know, it's really sad. And we're talking like Walmart, Amazon, Apple, Google, really big companies. They all had, very, very big promises that they're failing to deliver on. And what the report is finding is that over time, they've been quietly changing the promise, changing the rhetoric. So changing little things. Instead of net zero, they're talking about, just vague sustainability and adjusting the language, the rhetoric, so that their failure to meet those goals
is not so obvious.
So
all their words were gone with the wind.
Las palabras se las llevó el viento.
That is so sad. I was reading this weekend about a very fancy hotel who built their premises in the migration route of, I think, in Africa. I think it was the migration route of bisons or something. And everybody was like, why? And it's, of course, in alliance with a corrupt government and a corrupt company, and they do that. And then if you don't do the research, you have no idea you're supporting maybe a chain of hotels that is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And then you go to that chain of hotels, it's like, oh, we don't wash our towels every day because we're very eco-conscious. And you're like, oh, good, they're eco-conscious, but they're building a hotel in the middle of a migration route.
Exactly. And that's like a misdirection, But again, talk is cheap. Las palabras se las lleva el viento. If you don't support those little promises or big promises with real action, then...
And what is the origin of this?
Thank you for asking. So in Spanish, las palabras se las lleva el viento, such a poetic sounding phrase, actually traces back to an old maxim, an old wisdom from Latin. Now I'm going to try to pronounce this, but it's verba volant scripta manent.
Wow.
Verbs, or spoken words, verba, fly.
Fly.
And scripta, written words, remain.
I love it.
And it was an old piece of like an expression, an idiomatic expression, but from the days where Latin during the Roman Empire was the spoken language. It was used to talk about, get this, another, it still remains to this day a piece of wisdom. Get it in writing.
Of course.
Promises are one thing when they're just spoken, but if you really want to hold people accountable, get it in writing. Have a contract.
Is it true you're going to give me 20-day vacation? I want it in writing.
Well, we should have done this with the companies. They're like, are you really going to be like net zero emissions by 20 whatever?
Write it down.
Write it down. But talk is cheap.
Yes, I hope you enjoy our talk, though.
Yes.
Because
hopefully this is not too cheap.
And hope you enjoy it enough so you will be willing to join us next week for another Just a Spanish phrase.
We'll be back with more. And until then,
Adios.